وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا علما وعملا وتوفيقا خالصا لوجهك الكريم. We begin in the name of Almighty God, and we ask for His peace and His blessings and His salutations, and His good pleasure to be infinitely upon the beloved Prophet Muhammad and upon all of his forefathers and his brethren from amongst the prophets and the messengers. And we ask for that same peace and blessings and salutations and good pleasure to be forever upon his noble family and his right guided companions, and upon all of the great people from his community and all of us who follow him in righteousness until the day of standing. And we hope and pray and beg and beseech Allah that we will be listed amongst them. Amen. One of the great early sages of Islam said that you should plant seeds in Rajab and you should water them in Sha'ban, and then you should harvest them in Ramadan. And as you all know well, Ramadan is the 9th lunar month of the calendar, which would make Sha'ban the month of now the 8th lunar month, and then Rajab the month that is past the 7th lunar month. Ramadan is for the Muslim and for people from other faith communities to partake in Ramadan with the Muslim community, kind of our yearly pulse. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, said, the prayer to the prayer and Jumu'ah to Jumu'ah, that is to say the Friday prayer, the congregational Friday prayer, and Ramadan to Ramadan, that is to say the month of Ramadan to the following year to Ramadan, are expiations for that which happens between them. That is to say, wrong actions and what they commit between those. Even so long as major wrongs are avoided. In other words, the sins that we commit between prayers, the prayer erases those sins. And then the wrongs that we commit, or the sins that we commit between Friday prayers, the following Friday prayer erases those sins. And then the sins that we commit throughout the year, the Ramadan, if we're blessed to get to that Ramadan, erase those sins. So it's our yearly pulse. But because it's a yearly pulse, we tend to often prepare for Ramadan a day or two, or maybe an hour or two before Ramadan actually begins. So the statement that we began with, that you should plant seeds in the Rajab, and you should water them in Sha'ban, and you should harvest them in Ramadan, it invites us to take a different perspective, a different look at it, a different way of understanding Ramadan. We would think of, I think, Ramadan as being a time when you plant seeds and you harvest them later, but the reality is that you harvest them in Ramadan, meaning that you prepare for it in a way that when you get there, you already begin to reap the good, to reap the benefit of what the one has to offer. And so, in Sha'ban, with basically only a matter of a few days left, a couple weeks before Ramadan is upon us, if we're blessed to make it and blessed to be alive, we wanted to reflect upon some of the inner dimensions of Ramadan, and reflect upon the spiritual implications to the blessing of the Ramadan. And I know people have been hearing about Ramadan in the Friday sermons, and you will be hearing about them in the Friday sermons in a couple of weeks. But we shouldn't be bothered by that, nor should we be dismayed by that, because we have to be ready when Ramadan comes, inshallah, if Allah blesses us to get there. They say that the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, they would ask for 6 months after fasting the fast of Ramadan, they would pray that God would accept their fast for them. So imagine spending 6 months praying that Allah would accept the fast that you were blessed to do. And then for the next 6 months, they would ask Allah to let them make it to the next Ramadan. So for the entire year, they were Ramadan-centric. They were thinking about Ramadan. They were praying for Ramadan. And so it's a difference of, again, thinking about it a day or two before. And those of us who have serious caffeine habits know how real thinking about Ramadan can be 2 or 3 days, because they say it takes 3 days to, 3 days of migraines to get over your caffeine problem. Some of you may know what we're talking about. I definitely know about that. So you think, okay, I got 72 hours, I'm going to deal with the headaches and I'll be ready for Ramadan. Well, the first 3 days of Ramadan are really miserable because you haven't had coffee in the morning or have you But that's not really the preparation that we're talking about. And so that's what we wanted to reflect upon today. But before doing that, how's everyone doing? How are you guys doing? Everyone okay? You're not very convincing. Yeah. I'm going to do that. Yeah. So, Shahr Ramadan alladhi unzila fihi al-Qur'an. The month of Ramadan in which the Qur'an was revealed. Hudan lin-nas, the guidance for people and clarifications of guidance. It's a blessed time, it's an important time, and there are some things that will aid us, inshallah, to reap maximum benefit in Ramadan. And so this is what my teacher, Imam Zayd Chakra, calls the soul food diet. And you probably heard him talk about it before, but there are 4 key dishes in the soul food diet. The first one is hunger, the second one is sleeplessness, the third one is silence, and the fourth one is seclusion. So if time permits today, we'll talk a little bit about at least hunger and maybe if we're able to silence, all depending on whether or not my iPad dies. If my iPad dies, then we're just going to start talking about something else because my notes will be gone. And so I have about, I think, 5% left. And so if the iPad dies, we'll just talk about how much we love Chicago or something else. So, now, why soul food diet? And why, when we begin to talk about spirituality and our soul, why do we even use these terms? And what is the relationship between the soul and the body? We all know theoretically that inside of our bodies, we have a soul, we have a spirit. But the nature of human experience is that we live in a material world, and we experience the world in a material way, and so it makes it easy to forget about the fact that we have a soul, and to deceive about that reality, which is actually our primary reality, and that is the spiritual world. So the real takeaway from this session, and hopefully from Ramadan in general, is that we get more in touch with the spiritual reality of ourselves as human beings, that we cultivate that, and we become more human. There's a beautiful line of poetry when the poet said, Ya khadim al-jismi kem tushqa bi khidmatihi, at-tatlu al-ribha bima fihi al-khusranu, yarji ila ruhi fastakmil fada'ilaha fa'anti bi-ruhi la bil-jismi insanu. Oh, you servant of your material body, you're going to make yourself miserable through its service. At-tatlu al-ribha bima fihi al-khusranu. Do you seek to profit from the very place of bankruptcy? Yarji ila ruhi fastakmil fada'ilaha. Look back to your soul and seek the perfection of its virtues. Because it is due to your spirit, your soul, that you're a human being, not your body. So, what does it mean by a khadim al-jismi, or servant of your body? It doesn't mean that you work out. It doesn't mean that you sleep and that you eat, because those are natural things. But that all you do is serve your physical and material reality. You're going to make yourself miserable. Eventually you're going to be miserable from having only invested your time, energy, resources in serving the material part of your body, because that's the part of your being that ends, and the soul is eternal. So if you're only serving the temporal, material part of your being, then you're eventually going to be made miserable because of that. Do you seek to profit from the very place of bankruptcy? If I told you, listen, there's a really good business opportunity, but eventually it's going to fail, for sure. It's a good investment and it'll be great while it lasts, but I promise you that eventually it's going to fail. You probably wouldn't invest in it, and if you did, you would invest the amount of money that was proper for an invention that you may be lucrative for some time, but eventually it's going to fail. You're not going to put all of your money into it. Why? Because he says eventually 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 50 years, it's going to fail for sure. So your body is going to fail you for sure. You're going to die for sure. Your physical part of your existence is going to end. So don't put all of your investment in that. Because if you do, you'll be investing in a failing business. Look back to your soul. Review, revisit your spiritual reality. Seek the perfection of its virtues. What does that mean? Your soul is good. Your spirit is good. Your spirit is pure. But you have to do shiny. You have to do work to get it right. فَاسْتَكْمِلْ فَضَائِلَهَا فَأَنْتَ بِرُوحِكَ بِجِسْمِ إِنسَانٍ. Because you are a human being by your soul, not by your body. When Allah told the angels He was going to create the human being, and then He said, فَإِذَا سَوَيْتُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي فَقَعُوا لَهُ سَاجِدِينَ. When I formed him, that's referring to Adam, and then I blow into him from my spirit, thereafter prostrate to him. It's really interesting, and this is one of the lessons we should reflect upon in Ramadan while you're listening to the Quran, is the order of how things happen in the verse. فَإِذَا سَوَيْتُ, when I formed him. Why didn't He say when I formed him, prostrate to him? Because just the human form of Adam, the physical form, isn't enough. When I formed him, and then I insert into him of the spirit, of the soul, prostrate to him. He's saying that, and this is again, as you know, the angels prostrating to Adam is not a prostration of worship, but one of honor. And this is something that previous nations did, and something that Allah tells the angels to honor the human being, not to worship him. Follow prostration to him. Now, you all know the story about Shaitan, the devil, who refuses to prostrate. He was a jinn amongst the angels according to the dominant opinion. He was not an angel, but a jinn amongst the angels according to the dominant opinion. So Allah asked Shaitan, why didn't you prostrate to him, and I told you to prostrate? What does he say? I'm better than he is. You created me from fire, and created him from what? Sounding clay, from turab, from food, from clay, from dirt. So you notice that Shaitan says, I'm better than him, when he talks about what? The material. I'm better than him. You made me from fire, made him from clay. So he talks about the material part of his nature. In other words, he didn't see the secret of the soul in Adam, and had he seen the secret of the soul in Adam, he would have prostrated, because that's what Allah was commanding them to prostrate and honor. But Satan's veil came in what? Being veiled by the material, being veiled by the outer. And it's interesting that his claim to virtue is off of the fact that he was made out of fire, and Adam is made out of earth. Which one of those two is actually better? What does fire do? It's not a trick question. You don't, you grab a lighter and you put it right here from hand. What does fire do? Wow, right? It burns. It destroys. And what does earth do? What does earth do? It produces. And even people walk on it, and they spit on it, and they urinate on it, and they defecate on it, and they vomit on it, and what does it do? It produces produce. People, right? They're stomping on it. It's not, the earth doesn't go like, this isn't fair. I shouldn't have people walking around and stop making flowers. I'm not going to let wheat grow anymore. So earth is a beautiful thing. And even as it's abused, it still produces beauty. And that's why they say, Kun ardan tu kun ilahi arda. Be like the earth, you'll be more pleasing to God. So Satan was veiled from the spiritual reality of the human being, and that's why he refused to prostrate. So Ramadan is like an opportunity to take us home, to our homeland from where we came, from that reality of the divine presence. When we were souls, before we were bodies. You guys ever watch Kung Fu Panda? I have kids, I'm allowed to watch that kind of stuff. Did you guys watch Kung Fu Panda? Did you watch Kung Fu Panda too? What was the whole secret, the whole point of Kung Fu Panda 2? Inner peace. What else? See, that was a loaded question. I tricked you guys. You watch Kung Fu Panda 2, you're like, yeah. What was the lesson? Allah. What was the whole lesson of Kung Fu Panda 2? What happens in Kung Fu Panda 2?
Oh, master.
What did you say?
Oh, master.
I can't hear you.
Like one with himself.
What was it?
Oh, master, inner peace.
He masters inner peace, but what does he have to do?
Become one with himself.
To become one with himself. It's really